Am I the jerk for how I reacted when my niece announced she was engaged? I, a 33-year-old male, have a pretty big age difference with my brother, who is 44. He had a child at 25, which means that I became an uncle at 14. Because we were pretty close in age, I formed a special bond with my niece, Ella, who is now 18. When she was 16, my brother and his family moved away, so I've been seeing them less recently. But we keep in touch and I catch up at family events. Last year at Christmas, my niece told me that she had a boyfriend and told me a bit about him, but I didn't know the guy. He was invited for Easter and a couple other events, but was never able to make it. When we were planning my mother's birthday, my brother decided to invite Ella's boyfriend so that we could all meet him. Yesterday was the birthday. I was looking forward to meeting Mark, Ella's boyfriend, but was very confused when I saw her walk in with a man that looked double her age. Spoiler alert, he is. She introduced him to me and I politely smiled, but was deep down very concerned. I went to my brother to ask how old Mark was, and he told me that Mark is 36. So literally double Ella's age. She had told me that he was a bit older, but I assumed like early to mid 20s, not almost 40. That's when they called us in the living room to share the exciting news. Ella showed us a ring and revealed they were engaged. I just said, "What the And everyone turned around and looked at me like I was crazy. I told them they were out of their minds if they thought this was normal, that there was no world in which a 30-something should date an 18-year-old, and that she shouldn't be getting married. All of them accused me of ruining Emma's happiness. Some even said that I was jealous of Mark, which is so disgusting. I can't even explain it. Yeah, jumping to that immediately is really gross. I mean, I'm younger than Mark, but never in a million years would I consider even dating someone that's younger than 25. They told me that it was perfectly legal as they were both adults, which isn't true because they've been dating for a year and Emma turned 18 7 months ago. But they went on to continue that if they were happy, that's all that matters. I told them that they were sick for allowing this and that he was a predator, but they wouldn't listen. I know this isn't my business, but I can't help but fear for Ella. She is young and doesn't really know what she's getting into. I'm really scared of her getting married and being unable to leave him while she realizes how sick it was. I then left and slammed the door and have been receiving pretty wild messages and calls since then. I didn't know if I was wrong for this, and am I just overreacting, or was I actually wrong? I don't know what I can do to make them realize how wrong this is. And the very first comment backs up the poster here with a 35-year-old going after a 17-year-old is pretty icky. They are just too far apart in life experiences and station in life to have a relationship based on mutual respect and equality. These types of relationships are usually based on mutual exploitation. He gets some pretty young girlfriend slash future wife now, and she gets somebody that's much more most likely developed in their career and in life and able to provide something a bit more stable, or at least hopefully has more life experiences. But nothing has really gone into here on the post about what he provides in general. Does he have a lot of money, or is he just that charming? But still, the gross part is he went after a 17-year-old. And depending on what country this is originally from, it can be illegal. But I know a lot of countries outside of the US have a slightly lower age, but not by much. Yes, a lot of people tend to like somebody a little younger than them, but literally half the age is weird, especially the fact that she was 17. Like, I don't know how the parents were cool with their 17-year-old daughter dating somebody that would be 35 at the time. Now, I knew somebody in college that dated somebody much, much older, and their parents didn't prohibit it just for the fact that they needed her to learn for herself that it was wrong, because they knew if they were like, no, you're not allowed to, then she would just rebel and push against her parents and try to, do exactly the opposite and probably go deeper in with this other person, which I can kind of understand. But if it's gotten to the point where they're engaged and the family's like full on supporting this, there's got to be more to this. Like, it does feel gross. It doesn't feel okay. And there's even a lot of celebrity relationships where somebody is much younger, but at least then they're over 18. Like, being at your wedding and you can't even have a drink yet, but your husband's been able to drink for over a decade. You have your non-alcoholic champagne while he's just slamming them back. That feels weird. It feels gross. Like, I think he probably could have brought this up in a much more tactful way, because this does kind of make him the jerk for being like, no, this is gross, and immediately like slamming it down without knowing the guy really. But at the same time, like, he knows they've been dating since they were 17. And that makes it weird. He probably should have held back a little bit in the moment and then talked to his niece off to the side a little more in a relaxed fashion. Because now the guy, if he is a total creep, is going to be on the defensive. He might have already put in all the legwork with the rest of the family, but since he hasn't met this poster yet, he doesn't have that initial in with him. So he could have waited to bring it up, which makes him a slight jerk for how he reacted. But in general, I would say not the jerk, because he needs to make his opinion known here, because it sounds like she might be getting into a really bad situation, but it totally depends on the guy. But I can't see too many ways that this would feel okay, like, ever. Today, I effed up by drinking on my wedding day. So while technically this is over a decade ago, the person still wanted to share their story. When I met my wife, I was severely overweight and decided a couple years after dating to love myself and to lose the weight before we got married. I lost a good amount of weight on my own, but during our engagement, I decided to try a nutritionist and a program to get in the best shape for the wedding. During that time, I was on the keto diet. I've done the keto diet before. It does wonders, but it can have a couple other side effects sometimes. In the month before the wedding, I went pretty strict and even abstained from alcohol. This is the basic background leading up to the wedding. Now onto the day. So I'm the lightest I've ever been, feeling good and still going strong. No carbs, but I was nervous as hell. I married the most beautiful and kindest woman I know. I didn't feel worthy of her love, but knew it was going to be all right. Naturally, since my best man was getting ready with me, he offered me a drink, and it was my first beer in a long time, but I didn't want the carbs. So instead, I decided to have a few shots of vodka. Low carbs, so I'm cool, right? That's the dangerous part. I had about 3 shots, which after they hit, helped calm me down. After the church, about 2 hours later, we had a couple more drinks on the bus going to the pictures before the reception. I was shocked how hard these drinks were hitting me, but enjoyed the time and not thinking much of it. You gotta remember, you lost a ton of weight and you're drinking hard alcohol all of a sudden. I had eaten that day, but again, no carbs. This is where it is important to know that I had no way of knowing that at the time, carbs break down alcohol to be processed in the liver. So if you're not having any carbs, you're going to get more drunk longer. Now we are at the photos in the beautiful park and I am hammered. I stumbled through the photos, but luckily I didn't mess them up too much. After the photos, we had another drink and head to the reception. Now I can usually handle my liquor, but today I could not hold anything. When we got to the reception, I barely remember anything, so everything here was told to me the next day, and I woke up in a hospital bed. Apparently, the beginning of the night went smooth, got through the first dances, dinners, and speeches, then the party really started. Apparently, Mr. Worldwide came on. I took my shirt off and swinging it around. I gave my new wife an impromptu lap dance, everyone thought it was funny, and did shots with my grandmother. Then, as the night wrapped up, I wanted some dessert and went to go get myself a piece of cake. We had been gifted a cake cutting set by my parents that had been a family heirloom. Now, at this point, I was starting to experience some alcohol poisoning. And as I went to cut the cake, I passed out and fell onto the knife. It went into my forearm and I was bleeding decently. My wife ran up to me getting blood on her dress, clearly a white wedding dress now covered in blood, and I was transported to get my stomach pumped, the blade removed, and my arm stitched up. While my wife was understandably furious, she was happy it only happened near the end of the night when the guests had left and I was okay. Needless to say, I will always be having pizza when I drink now. In the very first comment, at least you took a stab at having a good time. No matter what, if you're losing a bunch of weight, watch how you're drinking, because all of a sudden you have a lot less body mass for that alcohol to be distributed through. Not to mention, if you're suddenly ignoring a beer for 3 shots of vodka that you're having all at once, that's a pretty drastic shift. Frankly, I think I only had like 2 drinks on my wedding night, and I didn't want to get hammered or anything because I didn't want to ruin anything. But oh my God, I can't imagine being this plastered at a wedding. And I'm very happy for him that it only happened at the end of the night. But the fact that it resulted in him stabbing himself in the forearm on accident, that's ridiculous.